The sixth chapter of the book of Yirmiyahu. Yirmiyahu, in the first five chapters, has warned Bnei Israel of the devastation that is coming, and unfortunately, that theme will continue. Ha'izu Bnei Binyamin mikerev Yerushalayim. Flee for refuge. The people of Binyamin, from the tribe of Binyamin. Uvitkoa tik'u shofar, and blow the horn in Tekoa. V'al Beit HaKerem su'u mas'eit, and set up a signal in Beit HaKerem. Kira'a nishkafa mitzafon v'shever gadol. For evil is coming in from the north. We have in this week's Parsha Kitavo. Hashkifa mimon kochecha. We ask God to look down from his heavy abode. Here, the same word, nishkafa. The evil is appearing, the great disaster that's coming from the north, like in the opening chapter when God said, Yirmiyahu, what do you see? And he sees, I see this boiling pot, and I see it coming down from the north. And we're told it's coming from Dan, it's going into the hills of Ephraim, and still the Babylonian army and their friends who are coming down from the north to destroy Yerushalayim. Hanava v'hameu naga dimiti bat Zion. Zion, which was lovely and delicate, will be destroyed. Eleha yavo ro'im ve'edrehem. Against her shepherds with their flocks will come. Taku ala ohalim. They will pitch their tents saviv around the city. Ra'u ishet yado. Each will graze his sheep. Kadshu aleha milchama. They will prepare for battle. Kumu v'na'aleh b'tzaharaim. And they'll say, let us go out in the afternoon. Oilanu kifana hayom ki natutz lalei areb. Ay, the day is ending. The shadow of the evening grow long. There's a debate amongst the commentaries. Who's speaking these words? There are those who say it's Bnei Israel who are speaking these words because right during the daytime it's hot. It's hard for the army to take over. But now that the evening is coming and and there's no longer that blazing sun, the enemies will be able to just come in. Kumu v'na'aleva laila v'nashchita armenotam. There are those who say that now it switches back to the words of the oppressors, the Babylonians, others. Now let us attack by night and wreck her fortresses, wreck Jerusalem. Continuing in verse 6, Pasuk Vav, Kicho amar Adonai tzvaot kirtu eitzav v'shivku al Yerushalayim solala, hi ha'ir hafkad kula oshek b'kirba. God says, right, destroy the trees, rage a siege, make a big mound against Yerushalayim. She's the city that is destined for punishment because in her is only Oshek, is only fraudulent, is only evil. That's what's inside Jerusalem. Kehakir bayir mimehar kain hekara ra'ata chamas vashod yisham eba al panai tamid choli umaka. As a well flows with water, so Jerusalem flows with wickedness, lawlessness, and disaster is heard in her. Before me, it's constant sickness and wounds. It's interesting. Towards the end of Yeshai, we had the verse, and there's a lot in these early chapters that seem to be the undoing of the second half of Yeshai. And one of the things it says there is that Hamas will no longer be heard b'sha'arecha. And here, what does it say? Hamas showed Yishamaba. That Hamas, that this disaster and lawlessness and ruin is once again heard in Yerushalayim. Hivasri Yerushalayim pente kanafshi mimech pen asimech shmama eretz lo noshava. Just accept the rebuke, Yerushalayim, lest I come to hate you, lest I make the entire place desolate, uninhabited. Ko amar Adonai tzvaot olel ye'olelu kagefen she'rich Yisrael hashed yadcha kevotzer al salsilot. God says, go glean over the vine, you little remaining remnant of Israel. Cast your hand over its branches. Al mi'adabra va'ida vishmu hine orla oznam v'lo yuchlu lahakshib. Who am I speaking to? Nobody's listening to me. Their ears are blocked. They cannot listen. Right? The arla was referred to, right? The arla is the foreskin. The arla talev, sort of the foreskin was left covering over the heart, the emotion, the ability for Bnei Yisrael. Yirmiyahu said that a couple of chapters ago, and now it's as if the ear is blocked up. There's no way to hear. Hinei dvar Adonai hayalahem lecherpa lo yachpitzu vo. The word of God has become for them an object of scorn. They will have none of it. And we'll see this further into the book, where Yirmiyahu becomes a person of scorn, an object of scorn, a person to destroy. Yet chamat Adonai maleti. But I am filled with God's wrath. Nileti hachil shpoch al olal bachutz V'al bachurim yachtav, I can't hold it. It will pour onto the infants, the olel in the streets. Will be, all the youths gathered together. The wrath of God will come. Kigam ishim isha yilakedu zakein im mlo yamim. Men and women will be captured, elders and those of advanced age. And here again, at the end of Yeshaya, he talks about how somebody who doesn't live to 100 will be seen as being wicked because their days have not filled. Here, everybody's going to be killed. Everybody's going to be destroyed. Their houses will pass to others, their fields and wives as well, because I will stretch out my arm against the inhabitants of this country. And again, the same thing, and this undoing. We talked so many times those last 20, 25 chapters. God talked about, I was the one who stretched out my hand to create the world, to create the heavens. Don't think that anybody else is going to help you. Ani Rishon, Ani Acharon, and that idea of stretching out the hand to create the earth. Here, that stretching out the hand is not the creation of the earth, but the destruction, the undoing of Jerusalem. We're in verse 13, Pasuk Yud Gimel. Kimi kotnam vi'ad gdolam kulo botzea batza, umini navi vi'ad kohen kulo oseh shaker. From the greatest, right, from the least to the greatest, they're all greedy. Priest and prophet alike, they all act falsely. And that's one of the themes of the early parts of the book. Another one, the lack of leadership. The prince, the prophet, the priest, all of them are wicked, are evil. Vayir pu'u et shever almi, and they offer healing to my broken people. Al nikala lemor shalom, shalom, v'ein shalom. Right? They say to the people, all's well, you have nothing to worry about. The Babylonians, the same way the Assyrians were unable to defeat us, Babylonians weren't able to either. But they say, shalom, shalom, ve'ein shalom. There's no peace. Peace is not going to be here. Hovishu ki toeva asu. They have acted with busha, shamefully. Gam bosh lo yevoshu, but they have no embarrassment of their terrible behavior, their terrible leadership. Gam hachlim lo yada'u. Lachen yiplu benoflim ba'et pekadetim yikashlu amar Adonai. They don't blush, and therefore they will fall. They will stumble, and they will be punished. So says God. We're in Tadzayin 16. Ko amar Adonai. Imdu al derachim u're'u. V'shalu l'netivot olam. Heza derech hatov l'chuva u'matzu margoa l'nafshechem. God said, stand by the roads and think about it. Inquire of the ancient path. Which road is going to bring us good? You should travel it. Find peace on it. But what are you going to say? Nah. Lo nelech. We're not interested. And when you hear lech, no lo nelech, it's impossible not to think back all the way. Lech lecha to Avraham. Vakimoti alechem sofim. And I raised up for you lookouts. Hakshivu l'kol shofar, listen to the sound of the shofar. Vayomru lo nakshiv, but they said we will not. Think back to Yeshaya and all his warnings to the people about the way they should act. And yes, it worked there at the end. Chizkiah and Sancheriv running away. And Yeshaya says in this, was chapter 55, Al chomotaych Yerushalayim ifkadati shomrim kol hayom v'kol halayla. There he talks about shomrim, watchers on the gates. There are other times he talks about sofim, which is a similar word. The watchers were placed there, the people to warn you, the people to give you God's message. But you said, like here in the end of verse 17, lo nakshiv. They didn't listen. We didn't care. Lachein shimu agoyim u'di'eda et asher bam. And therefore, hear nations. You should come and you should hear what is in store for my people. Shem'i ha'aretz hinei anochi mevi ra'a el ha'am hazeh pri machshavotam. Ki al dvarai lo hikshivu v'torati vayim asu va. So listen, all the inhabitants of the earth, disaster is going to come upon the people. And it's a result of their thoughts, their machshavot. Because they didn't listen to what I said. They didn't pay attention to my Torah, to my instruction. They rejected it. They hated it. Lama zeli livona mishvat tavo v'kaneh hatov meretz merchak. What need I have for this, for frankincense, right? For sacrifices that come all the way from Shebra, the fragrances from faraway lands. Olo techem lo liratzon, v'zivchechem lo arvuli. Your burnt offerings are not acceptable. Your sacrifices don't please me. Right? We talk about Olo Techem V'Zivchechem L'Ratzon Al Mizbechi. Of course, the words of Yeshaya, which we say so many times at this point of the year, leading up to the high holidays. Here again, a reversal. Your burnt offerings, your sacrifices, they don't please me. I don't accept them. Lachein Ko Amar Adonai. Therefore, God says, Hineni notein el ha'am hazeh michsholim v'chashluvam avot uvanim yachdav shachein v're'o va'avadu. And therefore I will put a stumbling block in front of these people, and they will all stumble. Parents and children alike, neighbor and friend shall perish. Right? There's certain places they have this more avos ubanim learning, usually the more yeshivish velt, because it's only fathers and sons. It's not the mothers and the daughters, or the son and the mothers, the father and the daughter. Right here, the avot and banim are coming together, but not to learn, not to study, not to recognize God. They will together, they will meet disaster. Kol mar Adonai hine amba meretz safon, v'goy gadol ye'or meyarkete aretz. Right again. A great people is coming from the north. A great nation is roused from the remotest parts of the earth. It's obviously not the remotest. There were places that were much more remote. But as far as the Middle East is concerned, 2,600 years ago, this was remote. Keshet v'chidon yachziku, achzarihu v'lo yirachemu, kolam kayam yehema, yal susim yirkavu. Aruch ki ish lemilchama alayich batzion. They'll grab their bow, they'll grab their javelin. They're achzarim, they're cruel, there's no mercy. They're like the roaring sea, they're like the riders upon their horses, they're ready for battle against you. O fair Batzion, you daughter of Zion. Shamanu et Shamo, Rafu Yadenu, Sarah Heche Zikatnu, Chil Kioleda. We heard about the report, but there's nothing we can do. Our hands fail. We're seized with agony like a woman in childbirth. There are many times where we have the idea of the woman in childbirth, but oftentimes, right, the idea of the woman in childbirth has been used as what? Yes, the woman's in pain, but the child will be born. It's worth the pain for what's going to happen. That's not what's going to happen here. There's not going to be the pre-ma'alechem. The fruit of your labor is not going to come. Or verse 25, Pasuk Chafei, Al teitzu hasadeu v'derech al telechu, ki chereb le'oyev magor mesaviv. Don't go out into the country. Don't walk the roads, for the sword of the enemy is there. Terror is everywhere, surrounds us on all sides, misaviv. Right? For now, you can stay in Yerushalayim. You're secure for the walls for now. Bat ami chigrisak v'hit palshi va'efer evel yachida silach mispad tavurim ki pitom yavo hashoded aleinu. My poor people, put on sackcloth, right? Put dust on yourself, mourn, wail, cry out, for suddenly the destroyer is upon us. I made you, right, an enemy of the people. And you will be, you will be chosen, picked out by them. Kulam sare sorim, holche rachil nechoshet ubarzel. They are copper and iron. Kulam mashchitim hema. They are stubborn. They're so rare. So Bnei Yisrael times called a ben sorer umoreh, towards the end of the book of Yeshaya in different places, and here as well. Earlier in the book, they're alluded to as being a moreh, a rebellious and wayward son. These are wayward and rebellious nations. They are violent, and they are like copper and iron. They're going to smelt you down. They're going to destroy you. Nachar mafuach me'esh tam ofaret. Right, their lead is consumed by fire. Their bellows puff. Lashav tzaraf tzarof v'ra'im lo niteku. Yet the smelter smelts to no purpose. The dross is not separated out. You might think that, some of the dross will be gotten rid of, and then it will be refined, and then everything will be fine. But that's not what's said here. There's no refinement that's coming out. Right? God tried to send prophets to teach them how to refine themselves, to make themselves better, but it didn't work. And thus the swords, the iron, the copper are going to come down to destroy them. Kesef nim'as karulahem. They are called rejected silver, ki ma'as Adonai bahem, because God has rejected them. It's a sad statement, right? That God has tried to come back, try to help you, try to bring things about in the right way, but you didn't take the message was never taken. The bad parts were not left behind, and thus complete destruction is coming. So here in one of these chapters again, we see the undoing of, in a sense, the second Yeshaya, the undoing of those later chapters, the messianic hopes that we read about 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, reversed in the unfortunate words of Yirmiyahu, who knows that destruction is coming and wants to give one last warning to Bnei Israel. Just like Yonah says, Odar b'myom v'ninveh na'apachat, and the people of Nineveh, they respond and they change their ways and they're not destroyed. Deep down, Yirmiyahu hopes that the terrible gloom, the doom that he is giving to them, maybe, just maybe, they will be able to repent and come back. But what we, of course, know is that their ears are clogged, and they do not, sadly, they do not listen.